podcast. We have reached the week of the Super Bowl. Here it is just Grant and I. Ethan had an emergency. Unfortunately, congratulations to him and his lovely fiance Hannah as they got engaged over the weekend. We were excited to chat about that and hear all the details. We wanted to hear from the man himself, so we will be having to push that to the back burner for next week. Grant was there, got to see it firsthand, and he could, but I want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. So no offense, Grant. We do have to give our props to him though, because Grant was the photographer and videographer for their special moment. He did not screw it up. So, attaboy, Grant. Very proud of yourself. Give a pat on the back.
Dylan, real quick. It's funny. Earlier this week, Alec and I were upstairs watching TV, and some news station shared a video of some friend videoing his friend's proposal. And he looked out of the corner of his right eye and he saw a baby raccoon, and he goes in to record that. And then when he turns back over to the left, he goes, "Oh no, they're already hugging. I missed the proposal." So I was thinking the whole time, like when I saw that on Wednesday, I was like, oh boy, you cannot let that happen, Grant. You need to stay focused. Thursday, what does Ethan send me on Instagram? That same video.
Well,
something along the lines of, "Hey kid, don't mess this up. You only get one opportunity
no
to
pressure.
do this." Yeah, but Ethan goes, "I only want to do this one time in my life. You better not mess this up."
That's right. So Grant and I, we will start the process of preparing a bachelor party. If you have any ideas or some suggestions as far as what type of strippers we should get, Ethan, we're just kidding, Hannah. We're not going to get him any strippers. Maybe.
Well,
maybe we could do like what we could do is, have you ever seen that stand-up video of that guy? He was the best man, and they went to like Vegas, and he's like he likes weird stuff. So he got this big woman that'll wrestle, and she starts throwing this guy around like he's a rag doll. Have you ever heard that story?
Oh gosh, yes I have.
Maybe we could do that for him.
That's a good idea. I have an idea on what he would enjoy, but we'll see. We'll wait until that time comes.
Yes, that's right. And like I said, we got Super Bowl week. National Signing Day is coming up as well. And I had some other disappointing thing too, and this may sound a little bit selfish of me, but I felt like I had some great ring jokes here. And Ethan's not there. Ethan's not here today. Did you write them down? So
did you write them down?
They are so good that they're just ingrained in my memory bank.
Okay,
so, and maybe this might work out better because next week's episode there will be a team that actually officially has a ring.
That is true.
We can, the ring jokes are still available. They're still there. We're gonna have some good jokes, good puns coming up here too. I've got some juice going. They as we record this on Monday, they are doing the media days, and I sent quite a text to you guys. I'm not sure if I am in the right state mentally because of the tomahawk chop and the tomahawk song that the Chiefs walked out to media days. It just got the blood boiling. I don't even know how I can handle this, and it's severely affecting me right now. And it might not be the best time to record, but the show must go on. And I'm just kidding. I love the tomahawk chop. It's a timeless American tradition.
Good. Because I was going to say, if you wanted to act like a woke teenager who gets offended by everything, I was ending this podcast right now. And all the people get was 4 minutes and 32 seconds this week.
It wasn't even that. It was 3 minutes and 45 seconds as we just crossed that mark. So we didn't even make it 4 minutes.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you didn't decide to act like a woke Gen Z loser who's slowly destroying this country.
one of the journalists, lib
like
journalists.
Bill Plaschke.
Yeah, Bill Plaschke. I'm surprised there was no tweet about that at all.
There will be. Don't worry. Hey, remember, we can't celebrate the Lakers winning a world championship outside because of COVID. outside.
That's right. Or a Dodgers championship.
Or a Dodgers championship. God, that guy's such a tool.
And I used to really like Bill, too. That's the other part about it.
I know.
But
Social media and
he
the
was
times,
always
man,
on.
they get you.
He was always on Around the Horn.
Around the horn.
And enjoyed listening to him. And I thought he was a decent, good writer. And then, like you live in California long enough, your brain eventually gets broken. So, But anyways, Grant, it is signing day this week, and the world is wanting to know now. Have you made your final decision on where you will be who you'll be cheering for next year?
I have made a final decision.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, is that was this something that you made, that you had when you have you made this decision for a while and you're the only one who knows this, or have you told some other people what they're going, and your sources are keeping it close to the vest?
So my sources are keeping it very close to the vest. We wanted to keep it private so our listeners know. There's only one person out there who knows which way I'm leaning to, and that would be Mr. Derek Olson. I talked to him at work about this, and like I said, there was a favorite all along, and I was just kind of mulling on them, and I wanted to make sure that it was the right choice. They lined up with my philosophies and how they identify as a program and a team, and it just made sense.
Okay. Now was this so? How many days have you had this decided?
I want to say, Dylan, actually for probably about 2 weeks now.
2 weeks? Oh, wow. And it hasn't gotten out. That is impressive.
No.
Here, you got to give you in a social media world like it is today. Very impressive that you've been able to keep it under wraps, not letting it get out. And when you went to bed last night, were you content and happy with your decision? As you said, you've been going for about 2 weeks now.
I was very content and happy. There was a little moment of weakness today where I wanted to go back another way, but it didn't feel right. Like the longer I sat on that, I was just like, no, that one seemed forced. Where I've kind of been at these last couple of weeks, it's like I said, the feeling just kind of feels right. I feel comfortable, and I feel like they're going to steer me in the right direction.
Okay, Grant. So
yes, sir.
Now the world is wanting to know what college football team are you going to be cheering for next year?
So first, I'd like to thank all the university's fans that reached out, on TikTok to me. And what's nice is actually my 5 finalists, like I said, Dylan, were University of Iowa, Texas, Oklahoma, Oregon, and Clemson. I'm lucky enough to have 3 hats in front of me from 3 of the stadiums that I've attended games at. The first one here being the Iowa Hawkeyes. The second one here I bought at DKR down in Austin. And then last but not least, at the Palace in Norman, OU. And as people know, I don't know if the statute of limitations is up in South Carolina for breaking and entering. Well, more or less entering. But if you do remember, Dylan, 3 years ago, there was an open gate at Clemson Tiger Stadium, and I did go onto that field as well.
You did?
I did, and I have a sweatshirt in my closet that I bought from a shop real close to Death Valley. And then, Oregon is the last school that I don't have any apparel for, but that's okay, because who knows, if they're the right fit, there's always time to get new apparel. And with that being said, Dylan, I think the wait is over. The people want to know. I would just like to let everybody know that I will be taking my cheering talents next year to Eugene, Oregon.
Wow, there it is. He doesn't even have a hat yet.
Not a hat yet, but go Ducks. Go Ducks, baby.
I am a little bit surprised here because, as much as the I know you're how much of a big fan of Dan Lanning you are.
Yes.
I am a little bit surprised because it's still in the Pacific Northwest. That being up there kind of in fairy tale world, not quite the quite it is beautiful out there, but
Beautiful country.
some little bit of a different culture out there that did not sway your vote.
It did not. And it did kind of like my feel on the San Francisco 49ers. As a football team, I actually really like this team. Who knows, if I needed a second NFL team, they'd be one of them that I'd root for. I like, just to compare Oregon and San Francisco, I really love the head coach. I like their philosophy, how they build on the inside out. And both teams just want to take your will to live. And they're both a bit crazy. I feel Kyle Shanahan's a little more mature than Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning, like you said, should be a general in the military. He should be calling airstrikes, not coaching football.
Just seeing the veins pop out of his neck when he's giving a speech.
The veins popping, how he was talking shit about Colorado before the year, and he didn't back down that week of. He goes, no, I wasn't talking about Deion's Colorado. I was talking about the program as a whole before. He goes, they didn't do anything for this conference. But then to your point, the people of San Francisco and Northern California and Oregon, they're not my cup of tea. Like, let's call a spade a spade. If I sit down and have a lunch with them, it's not going to be a pleasant lunch, because more than likely I'm just going to stand up and leave, because they're going to be spewing a bunch of nonsense that I don't agree with. But you know what? I don't have to live there. I don't have to talk to the people. I can just watch a game on Saturday afternoon and root for a team.
There you go. It is that well, so and there's a lot of promise.
Yes,
you're still staying in the Big Ten.
That is correct.
Do you have any message to the Iowa faithful that you cheered on so loyally for 29 years?
I mean, it was a hell of a run. The way this program was built, the foundations they have, it's kind of a lot of the way I live my life today. Hardworking, who you are as a person matters. Don't complain because nobody cares. Like Lamar Jackson says, nobody cares. Work harder. Just work in the quiet. Do all the small things right. Be a good person. You cannot argue with those facts, but just the inability to adapt to today's game, Dylan, was just too frustrating. I mean, like I said, 3 games this year against 3 ranked opponents, 92-0. And then after the Big Ten title game, after the Tennessee game, when your head coach comes out and says, yeah, calling offense is hard. Well, yeah, okay, Kirk, yeah, it's hard, but when you're paying a coach over $1 million a year, you should put out something more than a high school offense when someone who's making $10,000 a year. And that's on the high end. It's just
high school.
And like I said,
high school coach here, Grant. I do not make $10,000 a year coaching football.
Yes. And it's just, we watch sports to have fun, and I wasn't having fun anymore. And you know what? People can say, oh, you're a traitor. You got to ride or die with this team. Blah 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 blah. Well, you know what? If players can leave and coaches can leave, why can't fans leave?
That's right.
I'll play that card.
I do think this opens up a very good conversation. I contend that for one time in a fan's life, they are allowed to change teams. It can't be for every sport. It's just one sport that they can change their teams to. And after that, they're stuck with them for, as the vows go. For better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, you're stuck with them. And I was actually having this conversation, and it does not look like the Ducks play. The Ducks and the Hawkeyes do not play this year.
Correct.
So whenever that matchup is, that is going to be a very, very contentious, very heated. I know a lot of the Hawkeye fans are still very disappointed in you, similar to when LeBron left Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland, but you know what? They're going to have to get over it. Like you said, it was fun, but all good things must come to an end.
Must come to an end.
And for me, I was actually talking with my boss about this today, because why talk about work when you can talk about sports?
Absolutely.
And I was saying that I think if I was hoping that the Cowboys were going to take RG3's advice and fire Mike McCarthy and hire Deion Sanders as head coach. So that would give me a full-on legitimate reason to never
leave.
cheer for the Cowboys again. Exactly.
There you
And
go. Yep.
so, and the team I would cheer for, and it wouldn't be much of a, I wouldn't be a big thought out free agency recruitment. I have my team made up, and it's the Minnesota Vikings because, for one, sorry to open up some wounds, but they've never won anything. And basically in my lifetime, outside of when I was 1 year old, and the last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl or played in the Super Bowl, I was not by choice. I was wearing Steelers baby gear, and because my dad was a Steelers fan, but I don't even think he's a fan anymore. But whatever, I'm going off on a tangent. But if I, being a Cowboys fan in North Dakota, it's a little bit few and far between.
You're kind of a black sheep.
A little bit. And so, like, when the Cowboys lose, I'm miserable. But if I were a Vikings fan, I'm miserable and alone. But if I was a Vikings fan, I'd just be miserable. And I'd be
misery
miserable
loves
with
company.
Everybody. Yes.
Misery
exactly.
loves company.
So, Jerry, if you're feeling real adventurous, put me out of my misery for a brief time, hire Deion Sanders, get his ass in there, and get my ass the hell out of Dallas so I don't have to cheer for that sorry franchise anymore.
Dylan, I could not have said it any better myself. And also, with that being said, I'm still not going to – it's not like I'm going to root against the Iowa Hawkeyes. I hope they win a majority of their games. I hope they beat Nebraska. I hope they beat Minnesota to make Ethan's life miserable. I hope they beat Wisconsin just because nothing good comes from that state.
Correct.
You know what? Maybe the next time they get an opportunity to play Ohio State, well, which is actually this upcoming year, maybe they can beat them and take them out of the national championship running like they did in 2017.
There you go.
It's not a goodbye. It's a see you later down the road. And I think 2025.
Well, and knock on wood, as long as their quarterback stays healthy, he knows a thing or two about beating Ohio State. So
that is correct because he's
mirror of positivity. And we've had an.
And Dylan, I was just going to say one more thing. The big difference in these final five here, it was the head coach. Someone who I feel is embracing what college football is today, and also Dan Lanning is an absolute maniac. And also, I'm not going to lie, it helps that he's a Chiefs fan.
There you go.
He's from Kansas City. He was asked on the Pat McAfee show if he'd ever dream about coaching in the NFL or for the Chiefs, and he goes, "Nah, man. The only person I want doing that is Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes playing quarterback." So I like that.
It's hard to argue against. He's got a picture. Allegedly, has a picture of his wife's boobs on his chest. Allegedly, big boob guy. But we've talked enough about misery, suffering, losing. Let's talk about some teams here that actually have a shot of winning, winning a championship here. Enough of the loser talk. It's the Super Bowl week. 49ers versus Chiefs, defending champions, Kansas City Chiefs. Even though that in the game, the 49ers are, as of now, as we record this Monday, we've kind of seen it bounce around between 1.5 to 2.5 points here on the spread. It's right now, though, is 49ers a 1.5 favorite. Total for the game is 47.5. And you know what? For the hell of it, for what it's worth, the ESPN matchup predictor has it basically a 60-40% chance 49ers winning it. So nobody is believing in the Chiefs. Everybody has counted them out, which,
Dylan,
if you ask me, is a little bit disrespectful because they've won 2 Super Bowls already. They've been, I think they were also underdogs in the other 2, well, in the 3 that Mahomes has been in. And the one time he's lost is playing that Brady guy, which isn't a bad one to lose to.
were they favorites in that Tampa game, even though with all the injuries?
They were favorites, yes. Yes, because
Yes.
I won a lot of money because I picked the Bucks money line because I have a rule is you never bet against Tom Brady.
But yeah, the two that they won, they were underdogs.
Yes.
Yes.
And it was similar spreads in the sense that it was it was like 1.5 points. It was a field goal game, give or take, either way.
Mm-hmm.
The
well, and
4:30 on CBS Mountain Time.
Hey Dylan, fun fact for you. Also last week, according to the Football Power Index, or 2 weeks ago now, Baltimore had a 59% chance to win that game from the start.
Yeah, I believe the Bills had like a 45% chance too.
Correct. Yeah, the last time I think they were favored by that was the Miami game at home.
Yeah. And that one, it should have been like
worth.
a 99-1 once we saw what the weather report was.
Correct.
But, it's been a bit of an interesting playoffs from both teams' perspectives right now. The Chiefs, a lot of people had written off. It was how are they going to respond playing on the road? I always thought that was a bunch of overblowing nothing because when you have an all-time great like Patrick Mahomes is, an all-time great coach like Andy Reid is, they aren't going to be bothered by the road. They've won on the road. They've won in hostile environments. And it was a bunch of, like I said, it was hot air. That's really all that was. That was just things people could talk to get them to Friday in the media.
Was that was that just Vegas manipulating people, trying to make them casinos bigger and badder than most?
That could be.
Than they already are.
You heard it on a lot of the talk shows. Oh, how's Mahomes going to handle going on the road? How is he? We've never seen it before. It didn't bother. It didn't bother him. He just. I'm sure he laughed. I'm sure he heard it. Was like, okay, yeah, I'll shut him up.
Well, and it just shows how incompetent these people are. Like how you said, Daniel Jeremiah thinks Kellen Moore is a good offensive play caller. No. Daniel Jeremiah. That's why you're a former scout in the NFL. Former, because you weren't good at your job, and you got fired.
I am excited to see the fireworks, though, between Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. It's going to be very similar to what I can about imagine it was with Vic and Mike McDaniel. Where it's like Vic just screaming in his ear to run the ball.
Well, and luckily the good people of Brazil get to watch that exciting offense the first game of the year next year. How awful is that? Oh, they do. The first game of the season, or at least on Fridays in Brazil. What a joke.
Yeah, well,
But sorry, to my point about Pat Mahomes, he's played better almost on the road in his career than he has at home. It's crazy because he's been, like you said, he's a generational player. But him on the road, it's almost all but money.
He's been starting in the league since 2018, and it's 2023 now. He didn't lose a road divisional game until this year.
It's amazing.
So, and on the flip side, though, too, is the 49ers, they've kind of, in a sense, almost, I don't want to say limped into the playoffs, but they have not been playing their best football going in, which is what you want to be doing. It seems like one team is on the ascending, the other team is kind of descending. Now, both teams have had 2 weeks to prepare. How does that factor in? Both have been in this spot. It's a rematch of Super Bowl 54, if I'm correct in that, right?
54.
Super Bowl 54. So both teams have been there. They know how to handle the week, the week leading up to the Super Bowl and in game week. I don't think it's going to have a whole. I think you're going to see both teams to start the game, both offenses. Their script is going to be finely tuned. I wouldn't be shocked if both go down and score right away. But
kind of like last year.
Yeah, exactly. It was so yeah, it'll be one of those games of, it's going to be, I think this game is going to be more low scoring. I think after that, it's once the game goes on, it's going to be a game of cat and mouse, a game of the chess match in these games are always interesting because the Super Bowl is unlike any other game because it almost doesn't feel like a game because there's so many different factors. The lead into the game, the commercials are long, the commercial breaks are longer, like the lead in where everybody's out on the field for the national anthem. They're there for America the Beautiful, all the introductions, and it's hard for teams to get into a rhythm of the game. The halftime is about 35 minutes. So, how do these guys handle it? I think both teams coaches having that experience, they're going to be ready for that. But I think it's going to be a game of field position. I think it's going to be of who's going to be able to. I think both teams are going to be able to move the ball 20 to 20. Who's going to be able to come away in the red zone? Both teams rely heavily on ball control. I think this is going to be the game, like earlier, to kind of piggyback off it is, well, I could see this similar playing out to like the Kansas City Buffalo game where the Bills had the ball for 40 minutes but ended up having to settle for field goals.
Oh yeah, 100%, Dylan. And people don't realize, but this is the third time in this is the third time in 4 seasons these teams are playing each other. They are slowly becoming very comfortable with each other. You go back to the Super Bowl in January of 2020. Last year in the regular season in October of 2022, Christian McCaffrey's first game with San Francisco, and now this Super Bowl. So these coaching staffs know each other really well. They know what you do well, what you don't do well, what we need to do to force you into doing things you don't do well. And I'll say this, Dylan. Also, you could argue the Chiefs kind of played a half game this year already against San Francisco. And people are sitting back like, what the heck does that mean? They didn't play San Francisco. No, they didn't, but they played Green Bay in that Matt LaFleur offense. And in December, when the Packers were rolling, that was, you could argue, the closest thing to San Francisco's offense this year. And, in the first half in that game, the Chiefs defense struggled. Green Bay had them on the ropes. They couldn't slow them down. I understand the Chiefs had a fair amount of injuries in that game. They were down 2 starting linebackers, but I think that only helps the Chiefs in this game as they prepare, because they can say, we went up against this earlier this year. This is what didn't work. Let's try these adjustments now.
Yeah.
So yeah, to your point, Dylan, it's extremely much about a game of cat and mouse, and who comes out and does something they haven't done all year in the first quarter to get that jump and get the other coaching staff worried, like, hey, we need to make an adjustment off this because we were totally not prepared for this. We spent the last 14 days implementing this, and they came out and did that. What are we going to do to counteract that? So that'll, like you said, the game within the game is going to be real fun to watch on Sunday.
I think a big thing too, as far as for the defensively, if we go over, is can the Chiefs take away the middle of the field? When teams are able to do that against the Niners, that's where you see Purdy struggle. And for probably, I think probably 70 to 75% of the games in these playoffs, he has not looked great. But when it's gotten into crunch time and guys need to make plays, Brock Purdy, and we've knocked him plenty on this podcast, he's made plays. He's extended plays with his legs. He had the run against the Lions. He had 2 incredible throws that against the Packers that extended drives on third downs that won him the game. The idea that he's just a game manager, the throws that you make in those big games, because for a quarterback in the NFL, to me, it's a 3rd and 8 drop back pass league, and can you go and make that throw? Purdy's answered that bell time and time again. So I don't buy the idea that he's just a game manager. He has incredible talent around him, yes, but you have to be something special to make the throws that he's made in these playoffs.
You want to know who a game manager was, Dylan? It was Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yes.
This San Francisco team has been exponentially better since Brock Purdy took over than what they were with Jimmy Garoppolo.
The difference is that those plays that Brock Purdy has made, Jimmy Garoppolo didn't make.
You
missed,
correct.
You go back to that the Super Bowl that they played. He missed he overshot Emmanuel Sanders. It was when the Chiefs got it to 2017. He had George Kittle wide open, and he was not looking. He tried to throw it deep, where he would have had a first down and it would have extended the drive, potentially ran out the clock. Those are the plays that's why Kyle Shanahan went with Brock Purdy and didn't go back to Jimmy G.
Oh, what 100%. But another thing in this game, I think for the Chiefs' sake is Brock Purdy. He's short. Chris Jones, Karlaftis, Mike Dana, Pennell, they're going to have to get their hands in the air and knock passes down. That's going to be another thing. With the Shanahan offense, he's going to complete a high percentage of passes. I wouldn't be surprised if it's north of 70%. That's just what this offense is. But when you have an opportunity on 2nd and 7, and you know that ball's coming out quick, get your paws up. And what do the Chiefs lead the NFL this year in? Deflected passes at the line of scrimmage. And then when you can get it to that 3rd and 8, and Spags can play with your pressure up front, who's coming, where's he coming from, and you can play with the coverage in the back, then I think Brock gets he starts to overthink things, and he presses. And that's
he gets happy feet.
He gets happy feet. And then that's when he's going to airmail on a pass, and you're going to have an opportunity for an interception or a turnover. And then also, I think, especially with how good Trent Williams is and Charles Omenihu with the torn ACL now, I think you're going to see Spags bring a lot of pressure like he did against Lamar. 1, to confuse Purdy, but 2, to get that ball out and not let San Francisco get the ball deep down the field. Because he leads the league in yards per attempt this year. But to have to lead the league in that, you need time to pass. If you're bringing pressure and you're confusing your looks and they can't get the ball deep, that's a big advantage for this Chiefs defense.
Yeah, and you ask any quarterback that's played the Chiefs in the playoffs, Spags has done a tremendous job of disguising blitzes, showing one look that they've done most of the year, and then just tweaking something a little bit different that they haven't shown all year, and it gets them confused, and they, similar, like you said with Purdy, is he gets a little jumpy, he tries to press, and that's where, the mistakes happen. And something that's been a Chiefs staple is just Chiefs haven't beaten themselves. And and the 49ers have beaten themselves up plenty in the playoffs here. And they've been able to come back, and it's been able to get out of those tough situations. The difference in the game is they weren't playing Pat Mahomes. Is that the difference in the game? And for the Niners is you have to find ways to get pressure with 4, and drop 7 into coverage. Locate where Travis Kelce is at all times. Don't you send a message right away. You hit him. If you have to take a penalty at some point, that's fine. You can live with that. Your defense is good enough to get off the field, but find where Travis Kelce is because that was the difference in the game in the Baltimore game for the Chiefs was they got Travis the ball early and often, as you should in a game like this. He's an all-time talent. He was engaged and he was ready for the moment. And something that guys talk about is and Andy Reid does a great job of is getting the best players on the field the ball. And when you get Travis engaged early in the game, it's going to open up so much more. A guy for Rashee Rice and Isaiah Pacheco, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who made the catch that sent him off into the Super Bowl. There is if you're able to lock down Kelce, you're going to have a shot at the end here.
I will say this for the Niners' sake, and this is the problem with not only Steve Wilks, but D'Amico Ryan and Robert Saleh. If they sit back in that zone coverage like they like to play in rush 4, Mahomes and Kelsey and Coach Reed are going to take their lunch money. Because they're never, to your point, Dylan, you got to hit Kelsey. He's never going to be lined up on the line of scrimmage as a traditional wide tight end. He's going to be off the ball. They're going to send him in short motion. They're going to always get it where he has a clean look. And if he knows what you're doing on defense and he can just sit in that zone, and Pat knows that same thing, he's going to kill you. And the Niners got away from that last year, and they thought, you know what, we can't sit back in this zone. And they were like, all right, we're going to try to bring a little pressure and play man coverage. But in that regular season game, Pat knew they were doing that, and he torched them because the Niners secondary couldn't hold up. So I guess what we're both trying to say is going up against Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid is no easy task. And you have to be perfect for 60 minutes to do that. But in return, I think the Niners have the front four that's capable of doing that. But what they also have to remember is this. They have to rush with integrity because Mahomes' legs could easily be the difference in this game. If Armstead and Bosa are just running past him and that he's got that open lane where maybe Warner or Greenlaw, they run with Kelsey, they run with Rice, and they turn their back, and before you know it, Mahomes has 15 yards to play with, and he's going down the field. And he's extending drives with his legs. So
yeah, and that's a key, I think, for both, because Purdy isn't known to run the ball, but we've seen it in these playoffs when he's had to make plays with his legs and take off. I think that's a key for the Chiefs too, is they have to rush with integrity because he's not going to kill you with his legs, but it could be a 3rd and 12 or something, and one of the defensive ends rushes a little bit too high, loses control of their gap. Purdy can take off, extend a drive, and especially in a game that's going to be, I think will be low scoring, time is going to be a very important factor because as good as the Chiefs have been playing, they still were shut out in the second half or 2 weeks ago. And the offense hasn't been what it is. This isn't your typical throw the ball deep, explosive play type of offense. This has been more of a don't turn the ball over, take calculated risks. Don't put our defense, incredible defense in bad spots.
Well, and Dylan, you saw it in that game. They were rolling until that last drive in the second half when they ended up kicking the field goal, when they had the Taylor penalty and the 2 false starts, then on Trey Smith back-to-back plays. After that, it almost looks like this Chiefs offense got in their own head. And they were like, uh-oh, here we go again. Like early in the year, we're not going to be able to get anything going. So if the Niners can cause some penalties and they can cause some of that internal frustration with the Chiefs offense, or who knows, maybe the Chiefs go back to dropping the ball, then the Niners have a great chance of winning that game. So just don't let them continue to get this confidence and continue to build momentum like they have, ever since the Cincinnati game. And don't let them feel like, hey, we can start cooking again. And another thing I think it comes down to is stopping the run. If you let Isaiah Pacheco get going, like what he did last year in the second half against Philadelphia, I think it's going to be a hard time stopping this team and beating this team. Because you see what he means to this team when he gets going. And you saw what it was like in the first half before things, just a couple unlucky bounces for the Lions. When they were running the ball and controlling the line of scrimmage, the Niners could not do anything.
Yeah. And, before we do predictions here, what we're, the Super Bowl, it's always a big event, and there's a lot of, we talk about as far as from a football standpoint, the game within the game, there's a lot of, tremendous prop bets for outsiders. There's squares you can do. There's, degenerates like us that can bet on props, different ones. So Grant here, What are some of the props that you have? I don't know how many you have, but we can go kind of back and forth as far as some of our favorite ones.
I don't know. I think I got like 5, 6, 7 I saw. But another
Yep.
thing, Dylan, real quick, a big difference in this game. I know I talked about it last week with the Ravens game, but it's the faith in these place kickers. Jake Moody's missed a couple kicks this year. Butker has been money. Does Kyle Shanahan say, hey, you know what? I'm going up against this team. Maybe instead of kicking a 49-yard field goal, am I going for it on 4th and 6? Or does Andy sit back and say, you know what? I trust my kicker. He's been money. Let's make the Niners go 75 yards after this kickoff. And who knows? That could be the difference in the game. Hey, there you go, Dylan. You know, I'm glad you mentioned Brock Purdy using his legs. He doesn't do it a whole lot. One prop bet I saw was Brock Purdy, his longest rush on the day being over 8.5 yards. I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take the under on Brock Purdy's longest rush of the day. I think the Chiefs are gonna rush with integrity, and I think when they bring pressure this week, instead of bringing it from the outside like they have most of the year with Snead and McDuffie, I think it's going to be Willie Gay, Drew Tranquil, and Leo Chanel coming up the middle, getting in Purdy's way, and then in return collapsing that pocket. So I'm going to say under on his longest rush at 8.5. A little technical difficulties. So, another kind of, bet I really like here, Dylan, is Brandon Ayuk, his longest reception of the day, over under 13.5. I mentioned earlier the Niners lead the league in yards per attempt on pass play this year. Purdy has over 9 yards an attempt. Brandon Ayuk with 13.5 on his longest catch of the day. And I'm going to take the over on that.
All right. So Brandon Ayuk, how many yards over?
So his longest catch, 13.5.
Longest catch.
Ayuk,
Okay.
He's longest catch. Yeah, he's their deep play guy. He averages 17 yards, 17 yards a catch this year. I think he's going to have one of those deep in-cutting routes where, he runs 15 yards and then comes across the middle of the field. Off a play action pass, it's going to be an easy 20-yard completion. So Brandon Ayuk, over 13.5.
Okay. There you go. And I don't mine were Chiefs first play of the game is going to be a pass. 49ers first play of the game is going to be a run.
I like that.
Yep. The other one is or I'll let you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this one here is kind of a double dip on Pat Mahomes here. It's over 215 yards passing and 15 rushing yards. I like the over on both. Like I said, I think the Niners are going to sit back in their zone. Mahomes is going to be able to hit a couple big plays or so, and then, it wouldn't be an Andy Reid special without a screen pass, maybe going for 30, 40 yards. And then, like I said earlier, Mahomes' legs could be a difference in this game. He finds a way out of the pocket and gets more than 15 on the ground.
And you've seen in these big games, you have seen him get one of those type of rushes here. And for me, is the national anthem. Our girl Reba is singing it here, and I'm gonna go. The over under is at 1:28. Last year I didn't get the over. This year it hits. Love me some Reba. I think that we are going to get an over 1 minute 28 national anthem.
I'm glad you brought the national anthem, Dylan, because I had that one too. And I'm actually going to go the under.
Oh, 2 years in a row.
2 years in a row, because she did the national anthem at the, fun fact for you, I learned this today, the World Series in 1997 between the Marlins and the Indians. And it was at 1 minute and 23.
Ooh.
So I'm going to say history repeats itself. Reba, she's got her style. So I'm going to say the under on the national anthem 2 years in a row.
Well, I will say that it was 28. Well, that would have been 27 years ago. She's a little bit older in age, talks a
Okay.
little bit slower. I think that might be 5 seconds could be the difference here.
Okay.
But the one you always got to go with is what I have personally never gotten in the years that I've done this is the what color the Gatorade is going to be, and I think I'm just going to stick with this color until I get it right. I'm going with yellow, the best Gatorade flavor.
Oh, 100%. It's yellow Gatorade and then everything else. I got it right 2 years ago with the Rams with the blue in Los Angeles. I don't think I had one last year, but I would not have said purple. But you know what? These two teams played in 2020. It was orange. That day, the Niners were wearing white. The Chiefs were wearing red. Bill Vinovich was the head official. Fast forward this year, the Chiefs are in red, Niners in white. Bill Vinovich is the official. Give me orange Gatorade.
Orange Gatorade. All right. All right. And my last one is the over/under on times Roger Goodell is shown. Right now it is set at 1.5. I like the over on that. I think he's going to be I think he's going to be shown during the national anthem, and I think at some point, second, third quarter after commercial break, they're going to pan to him and show him and say something about him.
Mm-hmm. So my last one here, it's kind of interesting here. It's Isaiah Pacheco's longest reception.
Oh.
Not rush, reception at 10.5. Give me the under.
Give you the under. Okay.
Give me the under.
Okay.
Pacheco, he doesn't catch balls out of the backfield. I think there's a chance Jet McKinnon plays. But if not, I think maybe on a screen pass, if anyone's going for more than 10 plus, it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So Isaiah Pacheco, under 10.5, his longest reception on the day.
All right. And this one I just threw in because that I just made this one up myself. Here is over under on Taylor Swift song references 1.5. Now this is some type of pun, like you could say there's some bad blood between these two teams, or Travis Kelce found a blank space in the San Francisco defense.
Like what Ian Eagle did in week 2 against Jacksonville?
Correct.
He did that one earlier this year. Kelce finds a blank space for the touchdown. Song references, Dylan, I'm going to go under.
Under, okay. I probably would go under too, because they probably, which is a shame for them that Nance and Roma aren't listening to this. And that might be a factor is I don't know, Grant. Tony Romo's a big Swiftie. I don't know. What is he going to do?
Yeah.
But
I think the more compelling one is how many times they show her on the TV, Dylan. Let's go 4.5.
I could not find that prop. I was
okay.
Like, how?
But just for us, a verbal handshake here. Dylan.
Yep.
Right here. 4.5. How many times they show her?
That's going to be very dependent on the game Travis has.
Exactly. Because I think Travis scores once.
That and how many big first downs he extends drives. I think if he has over 10 catches, I do think that over 4.5 hits.
No, that's fair. Call me crazy. I'm actually going to go the under here. because hear me out. I think they're going to try to find more Jason Kelsey today.
Which, yes. Oh, and I did find. I just found some Taylor Swift prop bets here. So before we get to predictions, we have to do this
Naturally, we have to.
because we started the year off, kind of saying, Taylor Swift just kind of is riding Jason or Travis Kelce's coattails. And it got to a point where, we like to have fun on this show. We like to, give a good troll every once in a while. And, it was fun. But then there's some people that take it way too serious. And, the Swifties.
She has an army.
She has an army. I defeated them.
She has an army.
I defeated them. But let's see here. So, Grant, what the first one is Taylor Swift, first person shown next to. Right now, Brittany Mahomes is leading the charge at plus 100, or Donna Kelsey is the next best at plus 250.
That's a good one.
The primary color of the Taylor Swift's top at Super Bowl 58. Right now, red is leading at negative 500. Black is coming in at plus 500, and white is at plus 600. Taylor Swift lipstick color, red is the runaway favorite right now, according to Bet Online. It is negative minus 1,500, so you have to bet $1,500 to win $100. People will do it. And while any other color is plus 600, and no lipstick isn't even an option.
Well, no, she always has lipstick on.
Yeah. Another one is
that one's the easiest one so far.
Yeah, that's why it's at negative. The odds are at negative minus 1,500. Taylor Swift to double high five a member of the box. Yes, is sitting at negative 100. We have seen Taylor and Brittany have their own little dance that they do. I think we might have to recreate. You and Ethan might have to recreate that here.
That would be something, wouldn't it? Holy shit.
Taylor Swift hairstyle, hair up and hair down. Hair down's a strong favorite at minus 300. Underdog, hair down is at plus 200.
No, dude, I'm gonna say something simple like she's just coming off a flight from Tokyo. I guess I don't know what simple hairstyle is for a girl, so yeah, just hair down.
Is that just because you don't have any hair, so you don't know?
It very well could be, yes.
Number of times Taylor Swift shown on Super Bowl 58 broadcast. Sole option is too many times, offered at negative 10,000. And yeah, those are the ones so far that I've seen. So
interesting.
Let's see here if I found one more on a different website. But yeah, no, nothing. Oh, here's a good one is, will Travis Kelce propose to Taylor Swift after the Super Bowl? Yes is plus 1060, no is negative 3,000.
Oh God, that's funny.
Will the MVP mention Taylor Swift in his speech? Will Taylor Swift wear an outfit made by Kristen Juszczyk?
Oh.
Swift and Kelce seen kissing on February 11th? Will Donna Kelce hug Taylor Swift on the CBS broadcast? So that's those are your Taylor Swift bets. Bet responsibly here, and now this is time. We're getting into the nitty gritty here. Time for predictions here. So Grant, this is you are a Chiefs fan. You have a new college team here in the Oregon Ducks.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
what who are you picking to win Super Bowl? Are you riding with the boys, or are you going upset?
Well, let me say this. I think it's going to be another one possession battle with these two teams. Great head coaches, great assistant coaches, awesome players, all over the field. Players who are just making big plays left and right. But I think the difference is, to me, in this game, is how Pat Mahomes has not turned the ball over this postseason. I think there's going to be a Brock Purdy turnover that changes this game. And I do really feel like Spags is just brewing up something special this year. And again, I mentioned earlier, I think that Green Bay game is going to help out this Chiefs team a lot. With all that motion that the Packers ran that gave the Chiefs fits, the Niners are going to do the same thing. And it's going to be a field possession game. It's going to be, a battle. But the Chiefs are going to score one more touchdown than San Francisco. And they know what's at stake in this game. You win 3 in 5 years, you're a dynasty. They know this, but it's a business trip. They've been there. They've done that. After winning the AFC title game, it looked like a regular season win right away. The Niners celebrated, which you're not going to hear me bashing them, but the Chiefs, they've been there. They've done that. And I think the Chiefs pull out a win on Sunday, 26-19.
All right, and with that, who do you have for Super Bowl MVP?
Super Bowl MVP. It's going to be 3 for 3, Pat Mahomes.
Pat Mahomes, okay.
I think he's going to throw for around like 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like I said earlier, he's going to make some plays with his legs that extend drives. He's going to be in the conversation for the second best quarterback of all time. And he's going to be the quarterback of a dynasty after Sunday.
All right. Well, Grant, going with the Chiefs here. And this is the game that we predicted all the way back before week 1. We said this is who was going to be in the Super Bowl. It was going to be Chiefs, 49ers, and
all 3 of us.
I was sent this was sent to me on, I believe, sometime this weekend or Friday. I can't remember the exact date, but on a different podcast I used to do called Conversation Monday, which may or may not be making a return once football season gets over. So stay tuned here. I had my good buddy and Raider fan, Isaiah Binstock, who is going to about to be a father of 2. Congratulations to Isaiah on that, and his lovely wife, Jess. Congratulations to them. And I asked him, and it was just kind of a throwaway question of, how mad would it make you if the Chiefs are holding up another Lombardi in Allegiant Stadium? And he said he didn't want to think about it. It was not something that he wants to, because there is a lot of these two franchises. There is a lot of bad blood between the Raiders and Chiefs, going back to Al Davis and Lamar Hunt, because I believe there was something controversy with the way Al was fighting with the NFL. Lamar Hunt, it was talked about on the GM Shuffle. I wish I would have listened a little bit more intently on it to get the exact details, but the two franchises do not like each other. And so maybe Al, the ghost of Al Davis, comes back to haunt the Chiefs. Maybe it doesn't. And early in the year, when we did our season predictions, I said the 49ers were going to beat the Chiefs. And this is a game, and I said that more so because I was in my phase of I don't like the Chiefs. I'm sick of hearing about them. I'm sick of talking about them. But there's something about your friends. I just got to witness my college team win a national title, and I had a tremendous friend who I'm having a podcast with right now. That was my emotional support friend. And I've been able to be his throughout this playoff run because there's been some times it's looked a little grim. I'm sure there's going to be points. There could be some points on Sunday where it's going to be looking a little grim for him. But you know, I'm gonna stick with my original choice of, I was right all along, all year. And do I go against? Do I go back? Do I go for? What do I do? I've really struggled with who I want to choose. But in the end, for me, it comes down to who's the best quarterback, who's playing the best right now, and who do you trust more in these big moments? And until I see otherwise, I don't bet against Pat Mahomes. So I'm rocking with the Chiefs again. I think they win 26-23. And Grant, similar to you, 3 for 3, Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to have to, for them to win, he's going to have to play great. He's going to have to be the MVP. And I will say this, my dark horse candidate here for Super Bowl MVP, Dylan, Chris Jones.
Chris Jones, okay.
I think the interior on the San Francisco offensive line is a little weak. I think Chris could dominate. And in that first Super Bowl against San Francisco, he didn't have a sack, but he had that pressure on Garoppolo that forced an interception. The Chiefs then turned that into a field goal. His contract is up after this year. We don't know what his future holds. Why not put out your best tape for the last game of the year? Maybe try to get a little extra money in the offseason. So I will say this. If it's not Pat Mahomes, I think it's going to be Chris Jones, because then that means this Chiefs defense played their best game of the year.
And the best unit all year on that roster. So
correct.
That there you go. There you have it. And we'll it was supposed to be Ethan. We'll let him have curveball next week. I have it this week here. And mine is, I should ask, do you have Super Bowl plans? Are you going to be watching this game by yourself, or are you going to be brave watching it with other people?
To be determined. Dylan, I'm right now, since I have to work on Monday, I can't watch it with my folks. The 2 times they've won it, I've watched with them. The 1 time they lost, I watched with Caleb. So it might be one of those where I just try to watch by myself. To be determined. I'm kind of like you, Dylan. I maybe don't want to watch with others because I'll get too agitated the whole time having to listen to them talk and everything else like that. So to be determined on the Super Bowl plans.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I have plans, and I'm bringing a tremendous spread. Talked with my guy. We've got some heroin coming down the pipe. I'm gonna be smoking some ribs. I think I just bought 1 rack because, there's so much food there. You really don't need to make all that much because, you get 1 or 2 and you're good. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half. And I'm going to do one side. I'm going to do it with some Kansas City themed barbecue sauce. I haven't decided what I want to go with. If I want to go with Jack Stack or if I want to go with Casey's, the Ted Lasso barbecue, Ted Lasso's favorite barbecue sauce. And then my other half is I got to go, we talk about being riders on this podcast. I got to go with riders, a loyal listener, loyal guest on this podcast. I believe he is up in the one of the leaders for most appearances here on the 3 Guys Talking Ball podcast. We got to go with Big Duck Barbecue. Got to use some Big Duck Barbecue seasoning, and then some Big Duck Barbecue sauce. To be determined on the sauce. I don't know if I'll go with the OG or if I want to go with the peanut butter and jealous. To be determined. I did both the peanut butter and jealous, and they were a hit last year, so I might roll with it again. I don't believe where I'm going there's going to be any peanut allergies, which you got to worry about because you don't want anybody to die on your watch here. So
No.
that's what I'm going with here. But for curveball of the week is I'm going, I did this earlier a while. I don't know if I did this about a year and a half ago, but it was food fad, and it was more so just snacking type that you were kind of in that phase now. So what is a main course food phase that you are currently in right now?
Ooh, main course. That Dylan. I'm not gonna lie. That's a tough one for me because you know me. I'm pretty basic, and I usually don't change things up from what I have for dinner
But
most
like so
nights.
like
It's
you're at a
usually
restaurant. It's
um
something that you normally don't
yeah,
don't
yeah.
go with, but you've been going with a lot more recently.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Um, ooh, that is a good one. Um, you know, on last Friday night, met up with Alec and some other friends, and we went to Lord Fletcher's, a place on the lake, and we ate inside their restaurant, and they had like this French dip sandwich, with the au jus sauce, and then the Velveeta cheese, and like a sweet ranch like Chipotle ranch on the side with my fries. And then a couple weeks ago, Dylan was at Sunshine, and I again had another French dip with the au jus, the Swiss cheese, and all the fixings like that. So I think right now, recently, when I've been especially going out to eat like that, been getting into a
All right.
French dip sandwich and some
Now, are
fries.
you a fan of horseradish on your French dips? Or like if you have a prime rib, are you not a horseradish
Not
guy?
not a horseradish guy. For me, usually I just like on the sandwich like that. I just need a slice of Swiss cheese and maybe some onions.
Okay, yep. Can't go wrong with that. So,
Swiss cheese, not horseradish for me. I'm more sticking if I'm going
okay.
to fish.
Okay. For me, and this has been going back all the way to football is I've been big, and I actually made one myself for the first time last night. I've been big patty melt guy. The sourdough or Texas
Okay.
toast, and the dilemma I had last night was
Yeah.
like I'm gonna make this for my first time because my aunt she made some sourdough bread, and I was excited, like made it from scratch, like homemade sourdough bread. And I had it. I was all excited. I was like, I'm gonna make patty melts one of these nights. And I basically busy
Mm-hmm.
week and kind of just not really having time to really take the time because you got to caramelize the onions. I threw mushrooms on it as well. Uh-huh.
Ooh, very nice.
And so Sunday was really the only time that I had the opportunity to do it. So I did it, and I get ready. I'm caramelizing the onions and mushrooms, and it's getting about that time to start getting the bread ready. And I pull the bread out, is moldy. So I had to
Oh
go to the
no.
handy dandy Dollar General that's directly across the street from me, find the bread, and while I'm cooking, definitely not a smart thing to do, but it was on low, it was fine,
Ooh, bad
and
idea.
it was on, like I said, it was on low, it was okay, it was covered, we were good. I was only gone for a couple of minutes. Ran, grabbed some bread, made my own patty melt. It was tremendous. So patty melt / mushroom and Swiss burger.
A mushroom and Swiss is good. That's hard to beat. Um, Also, Dylan, fun fact for you. Um, maybe we'll have to do this. Go to this place I'm talking about in the summer when you come to visit. Maybe like like wait for it here, like on a Saturday night because the concert will be on Friday. Go out to Lord Fletcher's and get a spot on the patio on the deck, and then just kind of eat by the lake there. But on their deck menu, man, they have some of the best nachos at a restaurant I've ever
Ooh.
had. And whenever I go out there, I don't even need a menu because they have a special wharf menu where it's not as big
Uh-huh.
as the inside. Don't don't give me the menu. I'm getting the nachos. Their Nashville chicken sandwich is not as good as it is when you're inside the restaurant. The burgers aren't as good. You're there for the scenery, for the beautiful people, the good weather, everything like that. No. When I sit down, give me a fixins of the nachos. They're at Lord Fletcher's. You can't beat them.
There. Okay, that's that is a good idea.
And that shouldn't surprise you, Dylan, because how many times did we go to that Mexican joint by Grand Junction when we lived up in North Fargo? What would I always get?
Yeah,
A plate of nachos.
Can never go wrong with a plate of nachos.
When we'd go to B-Dubs.
And it sucks that those nachos have gone downhill.
Yeah. It's disgusting.
Now the go-to is just getting the chili queso dip with a side of salsa. That's the go-to at B-Dubs theirs. But I think that wraps it up. Concludes the Super Bowl edition of the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. I don't know if we're gonna have the segments out. For those of you who don't know, we didn't have it out last week because my computer decided to take a bit of a dump on me, and it is currently, hopefully, getting repaired and fixed. And right now, I'm using my parents' laptop to record, which maybe explains why I had to exit for a little bit here and able to get it back up and rolling. But we'll be doing our best to kind of push out some content, Super Bowl related content, as the big game gets closer, and we will be sure to wrap it up or to recap it next week. Hopefully, we'll be able to have Ethan back joining us, and check us out on all of our social medias: 3GTB Podcast, Three Guys Talking Ball Podcast. Search us, leave a like, rate, and review here on wherever you listen to your podcast, and thank you again for listening. We'll talk to you next week.